Your season of pain has truly come to an end. And I want you to understand that you will no longer have to return to the cycle that wore you down throughout the years behind you. This is not a gentle moment that will pass and then be forgotten, but a clear dividing point between what has ended and what is now beginning. You carried too many burdens upon your shoulders, walked through days that seemed impossible to survive, and often believed that the pain would remain with you forever. But my beloved child, what once weighed upon you has now been lifted. The door that repeatedly pulled you back toward old memories, former connections, and familiar fears is closing behind you. You do not need to remain before it wondering whether one day everything will return. I am leading you out of that place, not only through strength you developed on your own, but through a deep liberation completed throughout the entire journey you faithfully endured. I saw every moment when you suffered silently and did not know whom you could tell. I saw the nights when your body was still, but your mind could not rest. The mornings when you had to gather courage simply to begin another day, and the times you smiled before others while inwardly longing to lay everything down. No one may ever fully understand what you carried, but I did not overlook a single part of it. Every tear held a story, and every slow step was evidence that you continued choosing to move forward even when you believed you were standing still. You were never standing still during the days when nothing seemed to change. You were gradually moving away from the version of yourself that lived beneath the control of fear. You were learning to recognize your worth, establish boundaries, and refuse to return to places that once robbed you of peace. Certain things from the past repeated so often that you began to believe they were your destiny. You encountered the same kinds of people, the same promises, and wounds that arrived in familiar forms. Each time, you wondered why you had to face the same lesson again. But now, I want you to look back with clarity. Those cycles did not exist to condemn you. They helped reveal the places within you that still feared abandonment, the places that accepted unhealthy treatment merely to avoid loneliness, and the places that needed strengthening so you would no longer exchange self-respect for someone's presence. Each time you chose differently, another link was removed. Each time you refused to react from fear, an old road lost its power to lead you backward. Today, the cycle is ending not because everything around you has suddenly become perfect, but because you are no longer the person it once controlled. I am not only removing the pain that once existed, I am also closing the roads that repeatedly led you toward it. The habits that caused you to blame yourself are being replaced by compassion. Connections that only drained your strength are gradually falling away. Thoughts that convinced you that suffering was necessary to prove love are losing their authority. You do not have to keep walking through a door simply because it is familiar. Familiarity is not always safety. There were places where you remained so long that you mistook chains for a home, exhaustion for faithfulness, and endless forgiveness without change for compassion. I am teaching you a different way of living, one in which love does not require you to betray yourself, and kindness does not mean permitting others to repeat the same harm. Therefore, when the past knocks again, do not panic or assume that the old season is returning. Sometimes a memory rises only so that you can recognize how deeply you have healed. You may face a situation that once caused you to lose control, but this time you will not respond as before. Someone from your past may return with familiar words, but now you possess enough discernment not to be shaken. This is not the return of the season of pain, It is an opportunity for you to see that the inner door has already closed. What once had power to pull you downward has become only a distant echo. You do not need to fight it through anger. Your calmness itself is evidence that its authority has ended. The new season into which I am leading you does not require you to remain constantly alert, like someone still standing on a battlefield. You wore armor for too long, became accustomed to expecting another crisis, and believed that every joy would eventually be taken away. But, my beloved child, peace is not a trap. You are allowed to rest without feeling guilty. You are allowed to laugh without immediately fearing that something terrible will follow. You may welcome sincere people without forcing them to pay for the mistakes of those who came before them. I am not telling you to abandon discernment, but I want you to lay down the habit of continual defense. Wisdom protects you without making you hard. Fear builds walls that prevent even good things from entering. Learn to recognize the difference. You also do not need to return to the past, seeking an apology you may never receive. Some people do not possess the ability to recognize the harm they caused, and certain answers may never arrive in the form you hoped for. But your freedom does not depend upon whether they understand. You can close a chapter without their agreement. You can release it without denying what happened. You can forgive so that your heart becomes lighter while still preserving necessary boundaries. I am not calling you back to the place of pain in order to prove that you have matured. Maturity is revealed in knowing what to keep, what to lay down, and what must never again be permitted to enter your life in its former form. Remember that the peace I am preparing is not a life completely free of difficulty, but a life in which difficulty can no longer easily steal your stability. You will still encounter unfavorable days and difficult decisions, but you will no longer face them as the exhausted version of yourself from former years. You possess deeper discernment, clearer understanding, and courage refined through many seasons. Things that once caused you to collapse will now only remind you to pause. Look carefully and choose calmly. You no longer need to answer every call, explain yourself to everyone, or rescue everything whose time has ended. Your peace will become the gatekeeper, helping you recognize what deserves to enter. Now, I want you to allow yourself to move forward without continually looking behind. You do not need to examine the former door every day to make sure it remains closed. Trust the maturity that has developed within you. Trust that the lessons have been written deeply enough for you not to repeat the same choices. What lies ahead requires your complete presence, not someone who keeps walking while fearing that the past will catch up. New opportunities will require you to open your heart. Healthy relationships will need you to stop doubting sincerity. Some joys can be fully experienced only when you stop preparing yourself for loss. Do not allow the old season to steal the beauty of the new one by causing you to live permanently within memory. My beloved child, everything has ended in a way deeper than what you can presently see. You have not only been brought out of pain, you have also been brought out of the version of yourself who believed pain was something you had to accept. You crossed the boundary of self-blame, resignation, and cycles that made you smaller. From this point forward, walk with the steps of one who understands their worth, with a heart that remains gentle but is no longer easily used, and with a mind clear enough not to return to the place from which I led you. One chapter has closed, and you no longer need to live as though it remains open. Breathe deeply, lay down the final burden, and enter the peace waiting for you. What you once believed would last forever has reached its end. And what is beginning will teach you that life can become far lighter, clearer, and more beautiful than you ever dared to hope. I saw every time you quietly endured, every moment when you tried to stand while everything around you seemed to be breaking. And now that perseverance is bringing you to a new turning point. There were days when you smiled only so that others would not recognize how exhausted you were. There were nights when you lay still while your mind continued asking questions, wondering whether your efforts had meaning and whether this road truly led towards something better. Even so, you awakened, completed what needed to be done, and chose to take another step, even when it felt heavy. I never considered that quiet effort insignificant. When no one saw the battles within you, I remained there. When no one knew how much strength it took for you simply not to collapse, I was gently sustaining you and carrying you through each day. The strength that kept you moving did not appear by accident. It was formed each time you believed you had reached your limit, but still found enough courage to continue. I worked within you in quiet ways, not always producing dramatic feelings, but remaining constant like water, silently nourishing the roots of a tree. I helped you learn how to become calm after panic, rise again after failing to receive the support you desired, and refuse to allow one difficult event to define your whole life. You believed you were merely trying to survive, but in truth, you were being trained. Each day you did not surrender. Another part of your foundation became stronger. Each time you chose hope rather than despair. Your ability to receive new responsibility expanded. Now listen to me calmly, because this is the season when what was prepared in secret begins to come into the light. What is approaching will require you to trust me more deeply than you have before. This trust will not be expressed only through beautiful words when everything is going well, but through the way you act before you can see the full outcome. It is revealed when you are courageous enough to leave what has reached its end. When you remain upright, even when others do not understand. And when you walk through a new door without demanding that every detail be explained first. Trust does not mean acting without thought. It means preparing wisely, listening carefully, and then refusing to let fear deny what you have recognized as right. I am opening something new before you, but you must enter it as one who has matured, not through reactions created by old wounds. If you carry the fear of rejection, you may become suspicious, even of sincere people. If you carry memories of failure, you may refuse an opportunity simply because it reminds you of an old feeling. Therefore, before the door fully opens, I am helping you distinguish the past from the present. Not everything unfamiliar is dangerous. Not every challenge is evidence that you made the wrong choice. Some right steps still cause you to tremble because they lead you beyond what is familiar. You do not need to wait until every trace of fear disappears before moving. You only need to refuse to let fear make the decision for you. You waited for a clear sign that you were not walking in the wrong direction. But I want you to understand that the sign is not always the sudden perfection of every circumstance. Sometimes the sign is that you have become calmer in uncertainty. In the past, one delay was enough to make you panic, but now you can wait without losing direction. In the past, one person's opinion could cause you to question every choice, but now you know how to listen without surrendering control. The maturity appearing within you is evidence that the season has changed. You have been positioned more appropriately to receive what is coming because your inner world is no longer as fragile as before. There will be people who do not understand your next step. They may view your choice through the limitations of their own experience and decide that you are taking a risk, changing too much, or leaving something you should have kept. Do not become angry with them, but do not give them authority to decide your future. Others can evaluate only what they see. While I know the entire process that has occurred within you, they did not live through the nights when you prayed for a new road. They did not feel the restriction you endured for so long. They do not know what I quietly confirmed through peace, clarity, and consistent change. Respect wise counsel, but do not mistake every opinion for guidance. The beginning may not be completely clear, but this does not mean I am leading you into confusion. I am bringing you out of limitations that have become too small for your present growth. The new often feels unfamiliar because you have no memories with which to compare it. You became accustomed to struggle, so when a gentler road appears, you may question it. You became accustomed to relationships in which you had to fight to be valued. So when you meet someone respectful, you may not know how to receive it. Do not use familiarity as the only measure of safety. Some things feel familiar merely because you remained within them for a long time, not because they were good for you. You were chosen not because you never made mistakes, but because you demonstrated a willingness to learn and continue. I am not looking for someone who never stumbles. I am forming someone who rises with greater wisdom. You could have surrendered many times, yet you preserved a measure of hope. You could have allowed pain to make you cold, yet you still chose kindness. You could have used failure as a reason to stop trying, yet you found a way to begin again. That willingness is more precious than the appearance of perfection, because a person who seems perfect to the world may not understand humility, while someone who has passed through hardship often knows how to support those who are weary. The faith you preserved during days without evidence was never overlooked. Each time you did what was right before seeing a result, a movement began. Each time you refused to return to an old pattern, a new road became clearer. Each time you believed that delay did not mean the end, patience became stronger within you. There are things you cannot yet see, but they are still changing. Obstacles are losing their authority. Suitable connections are forming, and necessary opportunities are drawing nearer. I do not require you to run everywhere searching for signs. I only want you to remain awake. Fulfill today's responsibility well, and refuse to let impatience damage what is being arranged. Certain paths are being cleared as unsuitable things remove themselves. You may feel loss when someone becomes distant or a plan comes to an end. But do not immediately call every ending a disaster. Some people were permitted to accompany you through only one stage, not the whole journey. Some opportunities appeared only to teach you what you truly needed, not to become your final destination. I am rearranging connections so that those who can build with you will have room to approach, while those who bring only confusion will no longer occupy an important place. You do not need to drive anyone away in anger. Allow truth, time, and healthy boundaries to do their work. There are also obstacles being removed from within you. The greatest obstacle is not always found in circumstances, but in the belief that you are incapable, unworthy, or destined to fail again. I am changing the way you see yourself so that when opportunity arrives, you will not close the door before anyone else has the chance to open it. You will need to leave the habit of making yourself small. Stop apologizing for your presence. and stop denying the abilities I helped you develop. This does not make you proud. True humility is not pretending to have no value, but recognizing what has been given and using it with responsibility. Gratitude and kindness. You will soon begin to feel the movement more clearly. At first, it may be only a piece that tells you to continue, a conversation opening a new direction, or one small decision releasing you from an old cycle. Do not despise simple beginnings. Lasting changes rarely enter with great noise. They begin with one right choice repeated, one sincere connection nurtured, or one small opportunity cared for faithfully. When you manage the small things well, greater things will gradually find a foundation upon which to appear. I do not want merely to give you one brilliant moment. I want to build a season that can endure without causing you to lose your peace. Therefore, remain prepared, but do not rush. Be courageous while examining everything through discernment. Move when the direction becomes clear. But do not believe that one moment of hesitation will cause every good thing to disappear. I understand that you need time to organize, learn, and care for the remaining fears. What I am calling you into is not recklessness, but obedience after recognition. Do not delay forever waiting for every risk to disappear, because life will never offer absolute guarantees. But do not destroy everything merely because of one intense emotion. Right guidance will continue to be confirmed through peace, consistency, and healthy fruit. My beloved child, I saw you during the days when no one knew you were fighting, and I remain here as new doors begin to move. You were never abandoned, even during the long, silent stretches of the journey. What you endured was not meant to keep you forever in sorrow, but to form someone capable of standing before something greater. Carry the lessons, but not the chains. Remember what you overcame, but do not continue living as though danger is everywhere. I am clearing the road, adjusting connections, and placing opportunities into their proper time. When they appear, you will recognize them not only because circumstances change, but because you have become calm, discerning, and courageous enough to enter without asking the past for permission to move forward. You carry a heart deeper and more sensitive than many others because you were not created to dissolve into the noise of the world, but to bring light into places where gentleness is absent. I know how often you wondered why you felt the pain of others so deeply, why one cold statement could remain with you for so long, and why you noticed things those around you seemed not to see. There were times when you wished you were less sensitive so that you would not carry so much emotion, cared less so that you would not be wounded, or looked less deeply so that you could live lightly, like people who appeared untouched by anything. But, my beloved child, what you once viewed as a burden is part of the unique mark I placed within you. You are not here to become a copy of the crowd. You are called to recognize truth among confusing voices, see pain hidden behind smiles, and bring healing into places others simply pass by. When I say that you carry the appearance of a messenger of light in ordinary life, I am not telling you to separate yourself from people or believe you are greater than anyone else. I am reminding you that within you is an ability to reflect love, patience, and compassion in a distinct way. You still walk ordinary roads, perform familiar work, and face limitations like everyone else. But the way you experience life is not ordinary. You often search for deeper meaning in things others call coincidence. You long for truth, while many are content with what is easy to hear. You desire restoration, while the world often prefers only to cover wounds. This is why you sometimes feel out of place, even while standing in a crowded room. It is not because you do not belong in this life, but because the calling within you does not permit you to become satisfied with what is shallow. That sensitivity is not a weakness to be removed. What you must learn is not how to become colder, but how to protect your heart so that the gift is not consumed. Compassion does not require you to carry every person's pain. Kindness does not mean you must always say yes. Understanding does not mean you must remain in places that continually harm you. I want you to preserve your tenderness without becoming easy to exploit. Love while maintaining boundaries. And listen without allowing every voice to enter and control your inner world. When you use sensitivity with discernment, it becomes a lamp that reveals what is hidden. But if you give everyone unrestricted access, the same gift can leave you exhausted. Therefore, I am teaching you the difference between being called to support and assigning yourself the role of rescuing everyone. You were often misunderstood because of the depth with which you felt things. Some called you overly sensitive when you were simply recognizing insincerity in their words. Some said you thought too much when you were actually seeing contradictions they tried to hide. Others made you ashamed of your gentleness, as though hardness were the only form of strength. But true strength is not found in feeling nothing. It is found in preserving kindness after experiencing many things that could have made you bitter. You had every reason to close your heart, yet something within you still desired to love, heal, and bring hope. This is a victory not everyone can see. The world may celebrate loud voices, but I see strength in the one who speaks gently while standing firmly in truth, who stands before darkness without allowing darkness to alter their nature, because this light is growing within you. Resistance has also tried to make you forget who you are. Darkness does not always need to destroy you immediately. It only needs to keep you continually doubting your worth. It plants thoughts that you are too weak, too different, or not capable enough. It uses closed doors to persuade you that you are unworthy, the silence of others to make you believe you are unloved, and failure to convince you that the calling within is only an illusion. But recognize that the voices demanding that you make yourself smaller do not come from me. I correct you through love and guide you toward maturity. But I do not cause you to despise your own value. When a voice produces only despair, shame, and continual fear, you must stop and refuse to give it permission to define you. Lucifer envies what he no longer possesses, the ability to remain in pure connection with love and reflect that love without possessing or manipulating. He understands that when you truly recognize the light I placed within you, you will no longer be easily controlled by fear, rejection, or the approval of others. A person who knows they are loved does not need to bow before every threat. A person who understands their value will not sell their peace in exchange for acceptance. A person who lives with compassion and discernment becomes a threat to every system built upon deception. This is why battles tried to exhaust you. Delays made you want to surrender, and relationships attempted to convince you that becoming yourself was wrong. Yet the doors that closed were not always evidence that darkness had won. Many closed because I was protecting you from places that would have caused you to lose your voice. Certain opportunities failed because they would have required you to diminish your finest qualities merely to fit in. Certain people walked away because they could remain close only while you continued doubting yourself. When you began standing upright, establishing boundaries, and refusing manipulation, they believed you had changed. And they were right, you had changed. But not for the worse. You were returning more closely to the person I created, gentle without weakness, forgiving without blindness, willing to release offense without giving the same harm authority over you again. Every trial you endured has been teaching you how to carry light into difficult places without being swallowed by their chaos. You learned how to remain beside those who grieve because you know what it feels like to be misunderstood. You can support those who have been rejected because you once had to rediscover your own worth after closed doors. You understand those who feel lost because there were seasons when you could see only one small step ahead. These experiences did not make you less valuable, they gave you a more authentic voice. When you tell someone, they can rise again. Your words do not come from theory, but from the times you yourself were lifted. When you bring hope into darkness, you do not do so as someone who has never known the night, but as one who walked through it and found the way out.